this video got the alpha males very happy. And it's sad because we shouldn't be celebrating somebody's downfall because we think that this is just a worldly thing. When really, there's a much spiritual situation. Anyways, let's get into it. So for those of you who got a job like me and don't keep up to date with these situations, don't worry, I got your back. But before we get to this topic, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to see more amazing content like this. Let's get into it. This woman left her marriage.
I don't know if I'm going to actually post this because this is super vulnerable for me and I'm a pretty open person. But earlier this year, I told my husband I wanted a divorce. And this would probably shock a lot of my friends and my family because I hadn't told anybody, okay? I walked myself through the logistics of where would I live, how would we split the time with the kids, who gets the dog, where all of those things, okay? Had a full breakdown. I feel like I have been searching for something in my relationship that we don't have for the whole time we've been married, which has been 10 years. There is not a single thing about my husband in and of himself that I do not love. Let me be very clear about that. He is the most self-disciplined, loyal, hardworking, good person that you could meet on this planet. And that is probably the reason why I have not left.
When we look at this situation and we look at all the crazy stuff that has happened to this woman and many other people in society, we see an increase in divorce. We see an increase in marriages failing. We see an increase in disconnect. And we see a lot of people saying things like, oh, ever since we got married, just haven't been staying true together and stuff like that, to the point where society doesn't even believe in marriage anymore. What if I told you that this is much deeper problem? You see, we have to understand that the whole thing about marriage, I've said this on the channel many times, but we have to understand that marriage is a godly thing. And I feel like society has made us forget that marriage is a very serious thing in God's eyes, in the sense that when two individuals come together before God, getting married in the church, they are promising to each other that they're going to stick with each other. Now, there's a other side to this where marriages fail because a person has decided to not include God in the selecting process, which as a result, they've married the wrong person. And that has led to a lot of catastrophic events and things of that nature. But let's talk about the people that were cool before they got married, not the people that didn't know and understand each other before the marriage. We're not talking about those people that never had any good conversations of substance and then they ended up getting a marriage and started to finally realize stuff about each other and realize they weren't a match. Not saying that those people are bad or anything, but I've already covered that in a different video. But let's talk about the people that were good before the marriage. They were best friends before the marriage and then it just crumbles. A lot of people would be sat there like, how could that happen? You be with someone for so many years and then you guys just break up like that. And that's what's made a lot of people scared, because it's like, imagine spending 20 years with someone and they just say, we don't want to do it anymore. Let's get a divorce. I've found someone new, or I've done this, or whatever the reason is. I don't want to be with you anymore. I changed my mind. We see this in the Christian community. We see this in people that are not Christian and stuff like that. Well, even the Christians can forget that marriage is a very serious thing that's taken seriously by God, meaning that your marriage is not going to last if you don't have God number one. God needs to be number one, because the way that God loves is exactly how you need to be in order to make your marriage work. There's no two ways about it. And number two, because it's a godly thing, who is someone that hates God more than anything? The devil. A lot of people seem to underestimate the fact that as soon as you get married, your relationship difficulty increases, for the simple fact that the devil wants to make sure that anything God puts together, he wants to split apart. So what you'll find is a lot of discussions being put in your head. You'll have things where it's like you're talking and you get in a lot of misunderstandings. You get in a lot of disagreements for things that can easily be resolved, but now pride is building inside you, anger is building inside you, resentment is building inside you. Rather than forgiving and letting go and understanding or changing your bad behaviors, That happens inside of you. And then there's also the side of it where, say, maybe you guys don't have too many arguments, and then the devil is making you compare your marriage with other people's marriages. You're out there, you see another person who's doing this in their marriage and stuff like that, and you get home feeling unsatisfied because you're like, oh, well, this person's doing that in their marriage and stuff like that. Or even worse, you get into an emotional affair because you feel your partner isn't giving you the things that you need, when really you never asked your partner to do that. And even if you asked your partner to do that, maybe it's a case where it's a much further conversation, but you go out there and you emotionally cheat, or you physically cheat because you let your lust get in the way. You couldn't control your lust, even though you were meant to control your lust. And the devil convinces you that cheating is okay because your partner isn't doing this at home, and you're married and you should be allowed to do this, and you should be allowed to do that. But since your partner is not fulfilling you, well, someone outside can do it better for you. What's the point disturbing your partner and stuff like that? Let's not even forget social media. Social media will also get online and tell you things like, oh, well, a man should be allowed to cheat and there should be forgiveness, or whatever it is, or a woman should be allowed to do this and X, Y, and Z. And you guys then have these negative perceptions in your mind from social media about marriage, about if your partner is really for you, or if your wife or husband is really for you because of X, Y, and Z, and so on and so on. Friends and family members who have bad spirits or are jealous of your marriage, they say things to your ears, they say things to your wife's ears, and whatever's happening is both of you have many, many demonic, evil things in your ears, and you go to each other's face, and it leads to more arguments, more arguments, more arguments, more arguments, more arguments, until eventually divorce papers. I have not even spoke about the full list of reasons as to why people get divorced. But I hope you understand what I'm saying. All these things that you see, and please, I am not talking about those abusive situations. That's a whole different topic. Don't say stupidity in my comments. I'm talking about good marriages falling apart. Do you see how the devil can attack you in many different ways? And the person who's not even married, sit down, I'm still talking to you. I'm still talking to you. But you have to understand that the devil will attack you in many different ways. He could attack you through social media. He could attack your marriage through social media. He could attack your marriage through lustful desires that you haven't controlled. He could attack your marriage through bad family members that you always seem to listen to, when you're not meant to. He could attack your marriage through comparison. Whatever it is that's your weakness, the devil will capitalize on that and use it to destroy your marriage. Every time a marriage breaks, the devil celebrates because he hates God. And if he sees two people that are coming together because of God, of course he's going to try and destroy it. Mental health reasons too. Whatever it is, there's many, many different reasons. Which is why you have to be self-aware. You cannot go into marriage without knowing who God is. You cannot. Because when you have God in your marriage, and I see this in my relationship that's gearing up towards marriage, right? When you have God in your marriage, God forces you to be accountable. And it's uncomfortable, and it's painful, and it's so annoying being critiqued by God. You're doing this wrong. You have pride. You're not speaking your tone right. You're not doing this right. But I'm glad God does that for me. Because if God wasn't in my life, I would treat my partner like garbage. I would. I cannot do it by myself. I can't do it by myself. I can't. Even if I tried. I can't. Because naturally we're opposites, I've come from a much more rough background. She's come from a much softer background. So I have to adapt how I speak to her sometimes. I say things abrasively, And she's sensitive to that. Which is why I need to learn, ask God. I had to ask God, how do I speak to my partner better? How do I be more patient? How do I be more kind? Because I grew up in a place where patience wasn't shown to me too much. I grew up in a place where grace and all that kind of stuff wasn't shown to me. I had influences that showed me that self-control didn't matter in a marriage when really it does. So yeah, There's a lot of baggage that we all carry. There's a lot of weaknesses we all carry. There's a lot of craziness we all carry. There's so much we all carry. So, of course, because we're all so different and because we're marrying such different partners, of course, we need God to understand. Some people think that when you say God in marriage, they think it means that, oh, that's a get out of jail free card and that we're just going to pray our situations away. And yes, prayer is important, but action is what's important as well. You cannot pray to God as a couple saying you want a better marriage. But when God tells you, don't say that to your partner just because you're angry, you don't listen. Or when God tells you to say sorry, but you choose not to say sorry because you're too prideful, you don't listen. Do you get what I mean? That's why Christian couples get divorces as well, because they don't listen to God. On the flip side, this is why you can see that some non-Christian couples stay together without even believing in God, because they're already practicing godly qualities to maintain their marriage. However, I'm not going to sit here and say it's possible to do without God, because we're seeing a majority divorce rate and it's increasing by the years. So whilst it is possible, it's very, very unlikely for a marriage to last without God. But if we look at some non-Christian couples that have their marriages that last, I'm not talking about the ones that are toxic or have secret infidelity or all types of nonsense like that. The point is they practice godly traits, which is forgiveness, kindness, patience, all things of that nature, and self-control, self-improvement. Even if they did cheat, they came back from that. It's not a case where it's constant bad behavior. They already practiced those qualities.
The 13th turned out to be the luckiest day of my life.
I think what I love the most about Bruce is he's very kind.
She's a good cook.
Serene.
She's a very compassionate person.
She is truly the person I always wanted to be.
I love it. She is the epitome of serenity.
Oh, one surprise to me about marriage after all these years has been what a joy it is at this stage.
I didn't know that it would be that wonderful again as it was, before we had all these little screaming Mimis.
Well, it's not easy.
Well, and the biggest
And if anybody thinks that you're going to be on your honeymoon for 51 years, it's ridiculous.
Sometimes the tunnel's pretty long.
Yeah, and dark.
Well, it has been an enjoyable challenge because I've been introduced into a culture that I was just totally ignorant of.
It was very hard for her, I know
Yeah.
that. What
But
hurt so much?
You. I think I had to have been like in my 30s or early 40s. And I just thought, this is it? This isn't fun.
It didn't matter to me that Jim wasn't a member of the church because I loved him very much. And I thought if I only lived with him for this time only, then that was what I would be happy with. But a couple of years later, when our children started to come along, I realized that was not true, that I wanted to be with my children and him forever.
Really, the only reason it worked in those early years is we both loved the Lord, and we taught our children to love the Lord.
The secret to anything, I think, holding to the rod. If you hold to the rod and don't give up when things are hard, there's always a way through. President Hinckley always said it, that this will pass and that things will get better. And things always do get better.
So you have to be patient and loving and see where it goes.
Yeah.
You're going to have ups and downs, but it's worth it.
You cannot change someone to fit the mold you want them to be.
I just respect his space and he respects my space. Love him where he is.
Many times God has told me not to say certain things to arguments, and I didn't listen. I paid the consequences for it. But I'm glad I did, because it showed me and humbled me that I'm not as perfect as I think I am. I don't have this all figured out. It's only God that can help me. So individual watching this, right? When we see these situations online, of course they sound bizarre. Of course they sound stupid. But we have to understand that it's the devil that has been involved in their head. We're not talking about the situations where it's generally a narcissistic partner. We have to understand a lot of these situations where we see divorces and craziness like this, it's the devil that has been involved in that marriage, the destruction of that marriage, and God was never there. God was never there. And I don't mean like he wasn't there like he didn't want to help. He was there. Just the couples thought they didn't need God. They thought they didn't need God or whatever it was. So please, when you see these situations, it's not a funny thing. Anytime we see people in our lives, whether it be personal or online, let's encourage them to at least try to work things out, because it breaks my heart to see marriages break down for the most craziest of reasons, and you can see the brainwashing that the devil has done for them. More so the fact, if you are planning to get married, please do not even think you can do it without God. You cannot. I promise you, you cannot. And the individuals who are married right now, please, it's not too late. Please rely on God. And to those of you who are married and do have God in your marriage, encourage people around you. Inspire people around you. Give out these lessons and these thoughts and these things that God says about marriage. Because people need it. Marriage is dying. And it's not because marriage is this bad thing or whatever it is like society wants you to believe. It's because people don't know the basics and the foundation of marriage. And we need to do better at making sure marriage stays alive. But what do you guys think? Do you agree with my take? Or do you have any other opinions that you wanted to share? I'm really interested to read in the comments. And with that being said, my people, God bless, take care, and I'll see you guys next video.